All right, everyone. A warm welcome to you all around the bonfire tonight. I'm here joined with Adam and Andy and Sophia and as our guest today. And please enjoy your stay by the bonfire with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, come grab a seat. Get some marshmallows, get some s'mores going.
Yeah, get some s'mores.
I'm gonna go grab some graham crackers and chocolate and make some. Not really, but who knows? You can do whatever you want when you listen to this podcast.
Yeah, you can. We're not able to be around a literal bonfire right now, but we are watching a video of a bonfire. Or at least I am.
Oh, you're watching? I'm watching.
Yeah.
That video.
I've got that going on my screen right now. And if you're listening and you want that, it adds a nice element to the experience.
It adds to the atmosphere.
And for
in
future
this
reference,
era of COVID, when everything's virtual and you can't have a real bonfire, gotta be watching a virtual bonfire. Get in the mood.
To my listeners, I was talking to my brother recently and about some potential ideas for some video to be added to YouTube. So we might end up doing some cool stuff with, like, I don't know, drone shots of a bonfire or some kind of artsy ideas. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I like those ideas. I could help shoot those.
Yeah.
You fly drones, Adam?
I have flown. Yeah, my cousins have a drone that I've flown before, and they're pretty intuitive. Have either of you guys flown a drone?
Not really, actually.
They're pretty
I think
cool.
I may have tried once, but I don't remember if I got anywhere.
Oh.
Wait, does Go ahead, Andy.
Oh. I used to own a drone. It was really hard, but I think it was because it was cheap and it would get easily influenced by the wind. So it was really tough.
Wait, Logan, does your brother have a drone?
So my dad once had one for a time. It was a very nice one, and it was lent to him by his work.
Oh,
I think because they wanted him to do some kind of filming. I'm not actually sure, but yeah, they wanted him to, like, practice it. Yeah, that thing was pretty cool.
Well, if we can't get a hold of a drone, we could always just tie it to the rope swing and get some good shots that way.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or climb to the top of the rope swing and then just shoot from above, shoot from the top of the tree.
Or just, and very gradually bring yourself down the rope swing. So gradually that no one would even know it's a human. For a cool, like, descending shot or something.
How about in, like, the old movies from, like, the 1980s or whatever, they would make a miniature model of the set, and then they just film that.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about, Adam?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Dude,
we just do a really small fire, and then it's got that kind of, like, uncanny look where gravity is not correct. Wow. But you could do drone shots if you did that.
Yeah. You wouldn't even need a drone.
And you'd have your arm.
Yeah.
Or you get a drone and you do that. And then people are like, what? How did they get this drone to fly that high?
Oh, yeah. Go into, like, the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what were some of the things that you had on your mind? Or you said you and Andy had been discussing some ideas.
I don't remember what they were. Andy, do you remember?
Jeez, I didn't, but you wrote it down, so I mean you could just look at that list. Yeah, it's on the list. The topic idea list that I just revealed to our listeners. I think we've mentioned that. before.
I mean, even if we have this, everything that's been said since the intro is probably going to get cut out anyway. So, it's not like
Really? Oh man. Okay, fine. Yeah. So let me figure that out. So this is what Adam wrote. He writes, adopting the mindset of being capable of or content with being single your entire life.
Yes. Do you remember how did we bring that conversation up?
It might have. I don't know. But I do remember we ended up on that topic. And you were telling me, I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, I was saying, I think it's coming to me.
Okay.
So I was saying how, like, before entering a dating relationship, I think it's important to, like, find your self-identity or self-worth in, like, being confident in yourself where you don't need a relationship, or like you don't need your significant other to define you. And I think that comes from my observances with, like, seeing couples who, like, their identity is absorbed into the relationship and they're not, like, individual people, I guess. I don't know.
It's like Obama.
Like Obama?
Well, like, when people say Obama, they kind of mean Barack Obama, but that could also be Michelle Obama. It's like the name kind of... Actually, no, never mind. That's not a very good example. You know what I'm talking about, though?
Not really.
Well, it's actually not... It's not what you're saying, but that did make me think of, like, how he kind of hijacked the name Obama, but it could be Barack Obama or Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not what you're saying. Yeah.
I think I get what you're saying, though, Adam.
Yeah, I think I'm saying something slightly different, but...
No,
you're saying the opposite. Oh, I don't know. You're saying something different. Do you think you see... do you think that's common? Or that you see a lot of couples who do that?
I don't know how common it is. I think I would assume that it's pretty common. But I would say it's like 50-50. I don't know. I couldn't give you, like, a quantifiable statistic on, like, how its commonality. But I feel like it's something I've definitely observed before.
Yeah.
So can you guys hear me?
Hey, it's Sophia.
Hey.
So I'm, like, processing all my thoughts right now. And so just a question to kind of, like, start talking about that is, what does it look like to depend on the other versus not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean by depend?
That's exactly... Andy,
you
freaking... You literally beat me by...
I'm sorry, Adam.
What I mean by depend?
I'm asking Sophia.
I think I was asking more in regards to the statement that was said from Adam in, like, finding your identity in the partner rather than in yourself. And so my question to that was, not that I need to know myself, but just generally speaking, as, like, a person from the outside, like, what does that look like? Yeah.
I guess I'll go first. If no one else has it.
Go for it, Andy.
And the problem with going first in my head is, like, I didn't really process it completely, but I'll give you my initial response. I think to not depend on someone in this sense of the word or of the phrase is if you were to lose that person, you were to just like break up or they pass away or whatever, ideally you would not be affected at all. And that's why it's like ideally, just because I don't think anyone can really achieve that. But that's like the one extreme of that.
I think for me, I don't think like depend is the right word. Like there's nothing wrong with depending on your significant other in your relationship. And in fact, like you should be able to reach a point in your relationship where it's like it's healthy to want to depend on each other. Like I think you in order for a healthy relationship to be acquired, you like need to be able to depend on each other or rely on each other. I think what I was saying was more on the sense of like finding your identity more than like being dependent on someone. Like I don't think it's bad to depend on anyone.
Yeah. This is a lot of interesting like ideas here, because what Andy said to me kind of sounds like love. Like I feel like if you were to actually be broken up with, or like that person passed away and you didn't care at all, I feel like that has to do with the amount of love you have for them. If you didn't feel anything at all, I would argue you may have not had any love for that person. And to me, that doesn't seem like a relationship that's even like worthy of happening. I feel like, yeah, like a relationship is some kind of like emotional investment into another person. And if you didn't care at all when they like left, that would probably mean you didn't invest very much. And at that point, it's like, what's the point of even like having a relationship? But that's just, yeah. So how I was seeing like what Andy was saying is more about like love than dependence. And then, yeah, defining depend is kind of weird. What does depend mean? Like, are we saying I depend on you for happiness? Without you, I cannot be happy? Because that doesn't sound quite great, like such a good thing. We should be able to like find happiness like ourselves. But I think, I don't know. There's different kinds of relationships out there. There's such a broad spectrum. Codependent, I've heard, is not like a good thing. But I don't really know too much about it. But like if you're in a codependent relationship where like you like desperately need that person, I don't know. There becomes a line where things become unhealthy. And I think the beginning point of kind of being okay being single, I have come to that at points in my life too, where like you just have to have that in your mind. I don't know. It's like this balance that I don't know if any of us here will like know it, if we know the true answer. But it's like, as sometimes in my life I've thought, yeah, maybe I should be okay to just be single my whole life. But I feel like too, when like at least my previous relationship, I remember really embracing that toward the beginning. Like, yeah, I'm just going with the flow. If this thing ends, then I'm okay because I don't need this. And, I am like my own, I don't know. I don't need it because I don't want to depend on this person. But then I think she kind of put to me that seemed kind of like a barrier to her. Like she seemed to notice that I had some kind of wall that I put up. And I don't know, maybe that was something I couldn't really hide. So I started to try to not do that anymore. And then, yeah, when that relationship did end, the heartbreak was like the worst I ever had, because I really did let go of my barrier. And by the time it ended, it was just, I think she got to the most vulnerable part of me. So, this is a tough one, because it's like there's no right answer, I think, and you're going through your life. It's kind of up to you. Like, how vulnerable do you want to be? Because if you make yourself the most vulnerable, then you are the most able to be hurt. So, but personally, I think like I chose to be in a relationship right now because like I want to love someone, I want to be loved, and I know at this point in my life that it's some kind of risk, but it's one I'm willing to take because life is more enjoyable that way. Like, to me, I always go back to this idea of like this thought experiment, or just a mental image of a man who he only ever stays in his house because he's afraid to go outside and get like a virus, or, well, that's more of a timely idea, but I guess that's kind of true right now. But
Yeah,
I'm
it
actually
applies
thinking
to
like
now.
in normal life, like, oh, he's afraid of like getting hit by a car, or like he's afraid of any number of things. So he just stays in his house his whole life and never lives. Like, he's technically living, but he's not enjoying his life. His life is just a flat line. He's never happy or sad. Maybe he's just depressed or something, but that life is not one I want to live. So I came to that like a few years back, and that's kind of how I tell myself, like, I prefer to be in a relationship, but I am probably still finding that balance of how vulnerable I want to be. Currently, I'm being pretty open and just, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like what I think.
I like how you view. I don't know how to say this correctly, but I like how you view something along the lines of like love or relationships or just living in general. It seems like a sine wave. Like you were comparing to a guy who's too afraid to, I don't know, get sick or get a virus or get hit by a car or get a sunburn. I don't know, any number of things. Like that guy just stays indoors his whole life. And like, you're right. Like he's going to maintain his safety. He's going to maintain his security, but his emotional spectrum is just going to be a flat line. Like you have to go out and live and experience relationship and love for that to actually move. But because of that, you are going to have ups and downs, just like a sine wave. And I like how you compare, like, with friendships, it's like a sine wave with an amplitude of like 1. But then in relationships, like your highs are exponentially higher and your lows are exponentially lower. And so it's like a sine wave with like, I don't know, at any amplitude higher than 1. And, like I think that's such a cool way to view love or just relationship with other people in general, and living life and experiencing emotion. And just because we're humans, we're emotional beings, and so we're just by process of elimination, like we're bound to get hurt at some point because we invest emotionally. I also like that you said like love is an emotional investment, because you're definitely correct in saying that love is a choice. But yeah, because we're emotional beings, we're going to experience both highs and lows. There's going to be joy and hurt. And I like how you said if you invest in someone in a relationship and they break up with you and you're just fine the next day, like, did you actually really truly love that person? Because I agree with you there. Like, that would be, I would expect anyone at any era in their life that if they get broken up with, it's going to hurt. And that's just because we're emotional beings. And there's nothing wrong with, feeling pain or feeling hurt, because that's a proper expected reaction to that situation. And so it's not about not getting hurt. It's about how you deal with yourself after getting hurt, and how you prepare yourself to keep moving forward and keep getting up and fighting those mental battles. And it's about how you move on, not how you feel afterwards.
True.
Because there's definitely a healthy way to move on and an unhealthy way to move on.
Yeah, exactly. There's been this one idea that I never really knew what to make of, but it was like, I think I heard this story of a guy who his like girlfriend of a few years like broke up with him, and like he loved her a lot, and then I guess he saw that she was with this like other guy who was like really attractive and like really happy. They looked like really happy together, and when like asked about it, he just said like, oh, when I saw that, it just made me so happy to know that she was, she had found happiness with that person or whatever. And I've always thought about that. It's like, is that possible for me to feel the same way? Like, at least when I heard that, it was when I was freshly broken up with, and I just kind of couldn't, that just was not compatible with the way that I saw the world. Like, if she was with somebody else that was like super attractive or something right away, I would have felt super heartbroken, like even more. And I feel like that's pretty natural. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but I think that's kind of natural. But I don't know if like that idea that of like just being happy for them to be happy, like an instant after you've been broken up with, like, I don't know if that's the right way. If you should try to be that, is that what love is? I guess that's what I was kind of wondering at the time. I was like, does that mean that I'm loving them in a selfish way? Because I actually wouldn't just be happy to see her with like in that situation.
I mean, I would definitely say like those feelings of, I don't know, feeling more hurt, if she was just to immediately like get together with a guy right after you guys broke up. Like, well, one, I want to affirm you in that I would say that's a completely natural reaction. Like whether you're male or female, or I think most of the population would agree with you. Like, yeah, if my significant other broke up with me and just was immediately together with someone else, like that would really make me feel bad. Like that would suck. So I definitely want to affirm you. Like that is totally a normal reaction. And I think the reason where the struggle between, where your brain is struggling to come to terms with those two feelings or those two ideas of like, one, like I absolutely like detest that she is just immediately in a relationship with someone else right after we break up, versus the feeling of like, oh well, I'm happy for her that she found someone for herself. And like, is that love? Like that question that you're asking, I think that has to do with just the fact that those like detestable feelings you feel towards that person after breakup slowly fades over time. And so I kind of think about it as kind of like when you're in love with someone, it's like you have like a balloon, and the more you invest in the relationship, the more you love them, the more you get emotionally invested. You're like blowing the balloon, blowing the balloon, blowing the balloon, blowing the balloon, and it's getting bigger and bigger. This might not be the best analogy, but this is the first thing that came to my head to describe my thoughts. But then after a breakup happens, now all that like positive emotion inside the balloon just turned into negative emotion. And you know that the air inside the balloon is not just going to disappear. It has to like be slowly let out all over again.
It's a good image, honestly.
Yeah, and I think so now. It's going to take time to let that negative air outside of the balloon over time, and so like once you reach a point where all that negative air is now outside of the balloon, like like you would be at a point where you'd be able to say like, yeah, I'm happy they found someone that loves them, that cares for them, and that they love and care for in return. And I wish them like the best of luck, and I'm genuinely happy for that person. But if that instance of just immediately getting together with someone else happens while there's still, negative air left in that balloon, and it hasn't had the time to be let out yet, then you're gonna harbor those like negative feelings, those detestable feelings towards that time, and you won't be able to feel happy for that other person until you've let out all that negative air from the balloon.
Yeah.
And the amount of like detestability or negative feelings towards that person would be in line with like how much air that was left in the balloon that needs to be let out. So if it was like right at the beginning when the balloon is still full, you're gonna have even more negative feelings. But if it's like after a certain amount of time when you've been able to let air out of that balloon, like, yeah, you might still have negative feelings, but it might not be as much as it would if it was like immediately after said breakup.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it is possible to get to that point after time. I think time is very necessary. I guess maybe I misheard that story, or maybe I'm misremembering it. But yeah, I guess I also wonder, is it possible for some people, or maybe like as you get older in life and you have this different perspective on life, like you're able to actually move on a lot quicker than like I would today, or like when I think I was 21. Yeah.
There's a quote, I'm not exactly sure who it's by, but it goes something like, time is the best medicine for every pain in life.
Oh.
And so I think there's truth to like the healing power of time.
Yeah. It's just the thing is too, like when someone's been freshly heartbroken, it's kind of like the last thing they want to hear for advice.
Right.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
That is so like true.
It's almost like the default thing to say if you don't know what to say. Like, oh, just give it time, man. And like that.
And you're like, well, thanks.
Yeah.
That
that
didn't help at all.
A lot of good that did for me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it makes sense. Like after a breakup, you don't want advice after a breakup.
Yeah, exactly. My last one kind of helped me figure out like how to be there for someone when they have had something like that.
Yeah.
I realized I did like to just talk like my heart out, be able to get things off of my chest, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
when someone's going through a breakup or just any hard time in life, for that matter, it's all you just got to do is listen. And I think there's a lot of healing power in allowing the other person to just speak those words into existence and let those words like come out of their mouth and leave their body and lift that weight off their shoulders, and let those words just dissipate into the air. And I think there's a lot of healing power in just like being able to talk out your emotions. And so when you're with someone who's going through a hard time in life, like give them that opportunity to just speak it out, get it out of their system, and all you have to do is listen and affirm them and be there for them. And
yeah, so I try to never say, "Oh, just give it time, bro."
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
It's definitely the worst. Definitely the worst possible thing you could say to someone.
Yeah, just give it time, bro. Yeah, so where are we going to eat?
Andy, what are your thoughts? I hope you don't feel attacked in any way or like put on
Why would I feel
defense
attacked?
For like shooting down your whole like ideal breakup situation of ideally you're fine the next day. I feel like Logan and I both were like.
Well, I mean, I wasn't even really. I was just answering what I thought dependency was. It's not. I'm not saying that's ideal. I'm just saying that's what. Yeah. But I'm not. I don't consider that an attack.
Good. Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
I'm thinking. I don't even know if we're even addressing Sophia's original question anymore.
I don't think so either. But any thoughts on what has been said within the past 10 minutes? I just mean generally.
The thing is, like, I don't, and because I've only really experienced California culture, where everything's pretty like monogamous. I don't know. Actually, it's getting kind of weird now, but it's hard to just like generalize how to have a relationship just from my small experience and small observations. And I don't know. Humans can even, as a whole species, could be doing something wrong. We wouldn't even know better.
Oh, well, so, I 100% agree with you on that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Was it last time we were talking about humans? Like, kind of what I got was that we were saying humans have kind of stagnated in terms of evolution or like social evolution. Was that with you guys?
Well, I don't even think we've been evolving. I think everyone says, everyone talks about the progressive movement and, we're getting, bigger and better and faster and stronger and smarter and we're progressing and you want to be on board with the progressive movement. And I think humans as a species have not been evolving. I think we've been devolving ever since the first humans. We've been getting farther and we've been getting further and further away from perfection. And I don't believe in evolution, both like physically or socially. Like I think it's human nature to abide by the laws of entropy. And so we're always going to be, what's another word for like falling apart?
Chaotic.
Yeah.
We're always like imploding. I don't know. Disintegrating.
We're we're always going to tend towards disorder, and that's
Yeah.
the law of entropy. Entropy is a physical law, like in classical Newtonian physics, where everything tends towards disorder. It is not nature's natural order to just become orderly. I believe creation was ordered, and ever since the fall of mankind, we've just been slowly tending towards more and more disorder, and that's just the law of entropy. All things tends towards disorder. I mean,
Yeah.
you pick an apple off a tree and just let it sit out in the sun. It's gonna slowly just die away. I think we all understand that things fade away. We diminish and tend toward disorder. Like nothing just spontaneously combusts into ordered perfection.
Well, that's what's interesting to me. Well, I think we touched on this like last episode a little bit with Lawrence, but I guess I almost see life as life is like the opposition to entropy. Like, because a tree, like the apple falling off the tree and rotting is the entropy winning. Like it's that part of it, like being true. But
Right.
then like the tree existing in the first place and growing against all odds is kind of like the life part, or like the opposite of entropy. Like, because the tree, like coming from a seed and then like sprouting all these roots and leaves is a very ordered thing. Like the leaves occur in a very ordered way. Every leaf has a certain amount of cells and like the what is it, chloroplasts or chlorophyll?
Right. Well, chloroplasts.
Yeah, which like receive like the sunlight and like, so I guess I see life as like order, and then entropy, but like life exists in a chaotic universe. So everything, whenever something dies, that's like entropy winning. Like this virus right now is kind of, in my opinion, it's like, well, it's interesting because it's chaos in the human world, but at the same time, the virus is doing pretty well. Like, like as far as like the virus is an ordered thing, which is structured a certain way, which like freaking messes us up. And
that's so interesting that you brought that up and kind of just found that conclusion on your own. There's actually a movie that touches on that idea called Annihilation with Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac, and it's a phenomenal movie. I watched it in theaters just on a whim, wasn't planning on it, and just ended up with some friends at the movie theaters, and we just spontaneously decided to watch that film. And it just turned out to be a phenomenal film, but it covers that topic of well, first I'll explain the synopsis. It's about this asteroid with some type of like alien life form that strikes Earth and kind of just starts taking over like everything on Earth in this kind of radius of the blast zone from the meteor. And so this team consisting of soldiers and scientists go into this blast radius where all this weird things are happening, and they find like new species have been created inside this blast radius, and there's like new types of plants and a lot of weird things have been going on. And then the closer and closer they get to the center of the blast radius, the weirder everything gets. And it is a weird movie. But the writing is phenomenal, the story is phenomenal, and it talks about that concept of like, well, like, yeah, the humans are kind of losing this battle against this unknown force stemming from this asteroid. But when you look at it from the aliens' perspective, like, all the alien is doing is just trying to survive, and they're just doing their best to live.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was kind of like, whoa, that's an interesting way to think about it, because the typical movie is like good versus evil. It's the humans are the good guys, the aliens are the bad guys type thing. And this was the first movie to make me think like, oh yeah, like the whole concept of the movie is like, maybe the alien isn't the monster. We only consider it a monster because we're taking it from like our humanity's point of view, but from the alien's point of view, it probably doesn't even realize it's a monster. All it's trying to do is survive on this new planet. And I was like, whoa, that's actually an interesting concept. And so that kind of relates to what you're saying about the virus, about how, like, yeah, to us, the virus represents chaos, because it's definitely bringing disorder to our lives, both like on a biological level, but also on a systemic level, and kind of how it's just even affecting our economy and the way we live and the way we socialize with other human beings, and even like our mentality towards it and our mindset, and how the virus is affecting us psychologically. And so, there's all this negative connotation to the virus because we're analyzing it from humanity's perspective, obviously, since we're humans. But you're right, like the virus itself is like, it's doing pretty well. Like I would say the virus is probably having a good old time.
Yeah, they are.
I forgot why that concept was brought up in the first place, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about life and
entropy, right?
Yeah, entropy.
Yeah. And that was because Andy had brought up something about stagnation. Did you ever get to finish your thought on that, Andy? Humans stagnating?
I don't think so. I forgot what it was. I forgot. Gotta write this down.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know one idea I had was the next time I podcast, I want to podcast with my whiteboards in front of me so I could take notes and jot down ideas as we're talking in real time.
It's a good idea. Get the intern on it.
Idea.
That'd be a good attitude or a good habit to get in.
Yeah.
It's like an intern level task.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, hey, isn't Sophia, isn't she around?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if she's still around.
Did you have some input on something? What were we? Okay.
I had 0 input.
Oh, no. Well, the thing is, you asked a question, and I don't feel like we gave you a chance to like refute or like continue your questioning.
I appreciate for you giving me back the mic. I think I just asked to get the ball rolling, and I think
That's
it worked.
Too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you could become like a permanent
I see.
aspect, of this
Ball
podcast
roller?
where you just. So, I don't know if the rest of you guys have figured this out yet, but Sophia is really good at asking intentional questions, which is one thing I absolutely love about her. But I'm realizing now,
Aw.
like, maybe that might be a really helpful aspect for the podcast, is just having someone, and maybe it doesn't have to be something we do all the time, but I think it'd be cool I think it worked for tonight because I think my brain's been kind of dead all day, so times like these, it like helps to have a person doing the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's just one strong suit that Sophia
The
has.
ball
so-
rolls.
yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel so honored.
Likewise. We feel honored to have you.
I just think that's a phenomenal skill set that you have, and it'd be cool to be able to utilize that on the podcast if you were willing.
Hey, Sophia's. I bet you're the kind of person who there's like an awkward silence. You rescue everyone in the room.
I'm also really good at not answering questions, right,
yeah.
Adam?
Did you notice how well she avoided your question,
I like
Logan?
that.
Oh, yeah.
She's good at that.
We'll see who's better at. I want to try to get some answer out of
Ask away,
out
Andy.
of
Ask
Sophia.
away.
The thing is, I think with me, like, I speak when I have something that I stand by and agree fully, but I think with what has been said already, like, I'm neutral.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're neutral?
Okay, that's fair enough.
Like, I don't. Let me think real quick. You guys can talk while I think.
Okay. Yeah, the thing is, like, and this might be whatever, sexist or whatever, but it's us three, and Andy, Logan, Adam, and I think some of our thoughts might be, a little bit biased, just because we're men.
Yeah.
So
Especially
I'm
a
trying- I
podcast
wanna
like
hear
this
kind of,
where we've
what
been
Sophia
kind of
has to bring.
discussing questions or just like topic ideas on the matter of like relationships. Like, I think for a lot of things we talk about, it could be like gender neutral and it wouldn't matter. But for like podcasts like this where we talk about relationships, that would be so cool to hear the other side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no pressure. But if you have something you want to interject with, you can even interrupt me, like, just because I want to hear what you have
Yeah,
to say.
I appreciate that for just being welcomed into this conversation. I think even last night, just your whole podcast about like tipping, me and Adam, it's been like an ongoing like conversation we've had for like the past couple of weeks now of just like finances and like bringing up what like Uncle Tim would say.
Uncle Tim.
And so like that's something like I'm just very passionate about. I just don't know if I have anything yet in regards to this topic unless there is like a specific question towards me or just in general.
Okay.
But as for right now, I think I agree with everything.
I'll do the old taste your own medicine. So you asked us what does it mean to be dependent on your what do you think? What is your answer to that?
Nice. Good one. Yeah, let me do some thinking real quick.
That was the thing, is like, you don't want to give an answer that's not like fully thought through, but I mean, at least I didn't, because then you'd be held accountable to it. But
Dang, you really put me on the spot right there.
I'm saying that as in, like, I guess that was me trying to tell you it's okay to think about your answer, because I didn't really. Well, I guess I did, but
I mean, it's always okay to say. I think this podcast is cool because we have the opportunity to say what comes on our mind, like, immediately right after the question is asked. But then, because it's not just one person hosting, there's like multiple hosts. So as you're listening to other people talk, you get to add on to ideas or change your answer later. And I just think there's a beauty to having multiple speakers on a podcast, because that gives, while you're listening to what everyone else has to say, it's allowing you like the opportunity to think about your thoughts further, and if you need to adjust anything that you said previously, you could interject again and change answers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a...
I didn't know we had that as an option.
There's nothing wrong with... I feel like the point of this podcast is to be open to vulnerable conversation, and that's kind of why... That's how we're trying to be different with this podcast. And if there's ever a time when you say something and then Logan and I speak and you're like, oh, you know what? That does make a lot of sense. You could add to that and say something like, oh yeah, like I've never heard that view before, but I'm willing to see that perspective and why that perspective would make sense, you know, this. And yeah. I think one of the like building blocks of this podcast, or at least one of the themes of this podcast, stems from the idea that, I don't know if all of us, I won't speak for all of us, but at least like on my end, I was telling Logan this when we were first coming up with the idea for the podcast, was how we believe in the purpose of life is to learn and to grow, and like starting this podcast was a good opportunity to do that. So we get to learn and grow in two ways, in that we're learning how to do a podcast, you know, kind of on like a micro level, we're learning how to do this podcast, but then more on a macro level, we're learning from each other, we're learning from our conversations, we're learning from each other's ideas, and just kind of talking through things and kind of just where we're at in our stages in life currently. And so this podcast kind of serves a dual purpose in that, and for people listening, they get to hear those ideas echoed and reflected in our conversations, and I just think that's a really cool opportunity to have.
Yeah, that's true. It makes me think, like, what's coming to my mind is just like we should have one podcast with like a set of topics, and then when this like maybe like a certain guest, and then the very next podcast just contradict every single topic that we set in the one before. Just like have everybody like have the same podcast, but just everybody have the opposite opinion. And then none of our listeners will know where we stand. That'd be kind of fun.
That's really clever.
Yeah, no one will know who we are.
I feel like that's working backwards.
Right,
well,
then.
Sophia, did I give you enough time to put together?
Oh goodness, I was hoping you would ask.
I think she's trying to win.
Dude, that was the whole point. I was talking like.
I do. I mean, I have some thoughts.
Right.
I can speak. I mean, I think just in our current world, we live in a society where it's very normal to live life like every second of your life with your partner. And I think that's something I personally like don't live by, in that, yeah, I think that's just, it can be very unhealthy in, you know, in regards to like losing friendships, or, you know, not valuing the things that you should value, like your personal time, and when that personal time gets intruded, or like family time and friend time. And so I think something I've always and have been trying to live by is just like accepting, and like I admire a lot being invited to like certain events, but once it comes to the point where it's interfering with like my own personal life, that's kind of where I have to stop and just kind of prioritize the things I need still as an independent person. And like kind of bringing in the Bible into this, like the Bible says that before you're married, you're technically still single until you do enter into that covenant. And so I guess with that, I still think it's like very important in our society, but it's not seen as often anymore to still like value and like have your independence all while respecting and being in a relationship with your significant other or partner or whatever that may be. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but those were the thoughts that did come to mind.
Yeah, those are some good thoughts right there. I totally agree with you. It's important to like know what your journey is, or like, keep in mind your own journey. And I think that it does cause like a lot of suffering when people would just like let go of their own life or something and then just like latch on to somebody else. Like there's got to be a healthy like boundary, I think. Like I don't know. It's like we are all going through like these journeys, and like when you're with like a partner, like it's it can be like parallel, but it's not like gonna be parallel every second of the way. Like you do need like your independence too. You're not like conjoined twins or something. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you, Sophia.
Right. And I guess like the reason I stand by that is because like there is so much growth that occurs when you're alone and not around others. And like through that, like you can even be more productive. And so I think I've seen too many individuals spend all, if not most of their time with their partner, and then once, let's say, it doesn't end up working out, like there wasn't much growth. And so I think it's just really beautiful when that balance is found in, spending time, but also knowing your own personal boundaries and knowing, the growth that also needs to happen on your own time.
Yeah. I kind of, when I reflect on my relationship or the previous one, that's where I question those things. Like, I wonder if I let go of my life too much to be with her, spend more time with her. And then like, by the time it ended, like there's a lot more heartbreak because you kind of put so much into it, and I don't know. It's like I wasn't prepared for that kind of outcome. And yeah, I think I had lost some potential developmental time. But in the end, I think I did develop by that just to learn that fact. Like, yeah, you got to keep living your own life because of, that situation. So, yeah.
Andy, Adam.
Oh, I'm here.
Are you guys there?
I think Adam's asleep.
I'm here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Sophia, do you think it's objectively advantageous to be single?
Just in general?
Yeah.
Wait, can you speak in English for me?
I'm trying to use the phrasing of the person who told me this, and I'll reveal who told me this, but maybe I shouldn't. Do you think it's like a smarter? Is it smarter to be single than to be in a relationship?
Ooh, that's a good question, Indy.
Is it smarter to be single than in a relationship?
It's not really a easy question to answer.
Well, the first thought that comes to mind is like biologically speaking, like if you think about it, singleness doesn't really, like, it does benefit you because you can reproduce, but at the same time, you're sacrificing your life for another and all the challenges that come with that.
Okay, I got like half of those words.
This is a loaded question. I don't even know how to answer that.
I don't know if it's my connection.
I think I heard everything.
Okay, I don't hear anything anymore. I heard Adam say something.
Uh-oh. Wait.
Sorry, Sophia, I can't hear you. I wanted to know what you're saying.
I haven't heard Logan in a while. Is Logan still there?
Oh, I'm here.
Logan's here.
Oh, okay. Whew.
Yeah, I don't hear Logan.
Sophia doesn't hear Logan now?
No, I'm here. I can hear everyone.
I just rewind like 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes, but I heard something about biology and reproducing. That was the last thing.
Well, you said which one would be better. Like, is there one better than the other?
I kind of left it open-ended.
Yeah, Andy's question was, is it objectively advantageous to be single? Right, Andy? That was your question.
Yeah, which, and I'm kind of meaning is there an advantage to being single versus being in a relationship?
Was advantage the word you used?
I said smarter, but...
Oh, yeah, that is. Is it objectively smarter to be single? Yes, that's how it was phrased, and I remember thinking, why, that was a good question. I actually think that's a trick question.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to trick anyone.
No. I know you're not trying to trick anyone.
Okay.
I'm just saying the question itself is a trick question, but
How is that really?
Me?
Because... No,
to
that's what I'm saying. I'll let you finish your thoughts first, Sophia.
Okay, well, I don't think I think one's better than the other. I think, like, there are people out there who long to be single and don't need a spouse versus others who have the desire to have a partner. And so that's where I stand. I don't think there's one that's better than the other. But what I was saying was, like, biologically speaking, having a partner stops you from, like, reaching your own success because there is much more on the line for you to have to think about than fulfilling your own, what is it? Self-actualization. Yeah, or pursuits, versus, like, biblically speaking, you know, the Bible does say that a partner will, I don't know how to phrase this, like, will help us get there, or, like, it's just more of a team. It's a team effort.
Hey, I think I touched on viewing relationships as a team effort on our last podcast with Lawrence. If anyone remembers, any of our listeners out there remember our last podcast?
Lawrence,
I like that.
Will remember.
Lawrence will remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason I definitely agree with what Sophia said, because that's the reason I think that's a trick question. Is you can't answer the question is it objectively smarter to be single? Because it is smart to be single, but it is also smart to be in a relationship or smart to pursue marriage. Like both, whatever you decide is best for you, both avenues are the smart way to go. So,
all right, sure, whatever. I don't mean objective. I mean, I don't know if that's what you mean, but I guess maybe I should just ask, like, which is like has the more, or if you list out the pros and cons to each, which one has the better like score of more pros than cons?
Well, the answer to that question depends on how willing you are to, like what Logan was saying, to emotionally invest in another person and to be vulnerable to a point where you're being emotionally invested in by another person. And so if that's not an investment you want to make, then yeah, I guarantee you that being single is the best way to go, is the objectively smart way to live your life. But if you're willing to make that choice of love and emotionally invest in someone else and be vulnerable to a point where you're being emotionally invested in by someone else, then I would say the objectively smart thing to pursue is a relationship.
And the advantage is like an emotional advantage?
The advantage is 100% an emotional advantage.
Okay.
Like
then that's
a loving relationship fulfills our emotional needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then indirectly,
or should, I should say should. That's like the ideal situation. A healthy, loving relationship should be fulfilling both parties' emotional needs, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
And that's
I don't really know
what you try to pursue in a relationship.
Okay, so then and what I'm trying to figure out is what your advantages are that what you're calling an advantage is.
Being loved. I think as human beings, we desire love. Love is like the root of everything. Like the presence of love provides us, a sense of safety, a sense of security. Like when our parents love us, we feel safe and secure. People feel significant when they're loved. People feel hopeful and joyful when they're loved. People feel like they have purpose when they're loved. I like what Sophia was saying about self-actualization. I think if you're loved in the correct way, you could reach self-actualization. And on the opposite end, the absence of love destroys. Like the absence of love can make you depressed. The absence of love can, instead of love giving you security, the absence of love can bring insecurity. And instead of love bringing safety, the absence of love can bring fear and anger or suffering. And I think love is the most important driving factor in all human socialization. And I mean, even if you go back to the Bible, Jesus's only command to everyone in the whole world was love God and love others. And the action verb there is love. And so I just think there's a huge important like aspect of life that love factors into.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Andy?
I wouldn't necessarily agree. I wouldn't agree that what Adam was saying is necessarily true, is what I meant to say. But
well, yeah, and you don't have to agree or disagree to the statement. Like, you don't have to take a side, but just what are your thoughts to what I said?
Oh, one of my thoughts. Well, so in particular, you said the absence of love destroys. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it is generally true, but I think that has to do with society's response to the lack of love and whatever, all that. But it's kind of sounding like you're not really, it doesn't sound like you're considering too much the side of being single, which is actually interesting because, you were the one that actually brought that up, of that concept of it's advantageous to be single.
Right. I think I see. No. I think I see a
Yeah.
discrepancy here. I'll let you finish your thought and I'll address it.
Okay. But yeah, and I'm not saying you aren't addressing that, but it seems interesting that you've changed your perspective. It seems like you have, but yeah, what were you going to say?
No, I see what you're saying, and I think it's dawning on me where the discrepancy is. So, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what I'm hearing from you is that you're interpreting love as just solely romantic love, like in a relationship, and I'm saying love in a more like broader sense of the word, not just the romantic sense. And so, for example, in Greek there are multiple words for love in Greek, and they each correspond to a different type of love. But specifically in the New Testament, which was originally written in Greek by all the writers of that time, the New Testament records 4 different Greek words for love. And they are phileo, agape, storge, and eros. Eros is the word that you would use to describe romantic love, like the love that you pursue in a relationship, and those happy, bubbly, tingling feelings you get when you're with your significant other. That, like, everything in the English language that people associate love with, to those aspects of love, in Greek you would use the word eros, eros. But the other 3, there's phileo, which means brotherly love, and that's the type of love you feel towards a friend. Like when I say, like, oh man, I love you guys, like, I'm not saying like I'm sexually attracted to all of you. I'm saying like I love you guys because we have a bond and we're close to each other. And phileo just means that, like, brotherly love that we all share in like friendship and what's the word I'm thinking of? Community. So that's phileo. Then you have storge. Storge love is just like any love is familial love. So brother, sister, father, son, mother, daughter, grandparents, grandchildren. That the type of love you have for your family. God bless you. And so that's that's okay.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're live to everybody. No, I'm just kidding. This is
yeah. There's 32 people tuned into this podcast right now, just so you know. Anyway, so in all seriousness, getting back to what I was saying. So that's storge love, and then the last one, agape love. That's the word that Jesus is using when he's telling those commandments of love God and love others. He's using the word agape there, and agape is, we don't really have a good English word for this, and it's a really hard word to describe because it's this perfect, unconditional love that, like, no matter what happens, like your life is more important than my life type of love. It's a very hard love to describe. It's this full, like beautiful, kind and just willing love that you have. And so like I would say agape love is the love you're trying to achieve in a relationship, but agape love is also the love you're trying to achieve in all aspect of life, of how, you hear the saying like love your neighbor as yourself. It takes an agape level love to be able to do that, and a situation where you're putting someone else's life above your own would be considered an agape love. And the Bible talks about like loving your enemy, over yourself, because it's easy to love a friend, and that would be a phileo. It's easy to love a friend. It's easy to phileo somebody, but to agape an enemy, to love an enemy, to not hold anything against someone, to not keep any records of wrong, or to just dishonor someone, and that would be an agape level love. And that's the hardest love to describe, because there's really no good English words for that. But that's kind of what I'm referring to when I say the absence of love destroys, because I think the absence of agape love, or just the presence of any of those loves that I explained, tends to hurt. Like if a child is never truly loved by their parents, that's going to cause a lot of pain and suffering for that child, either in the moment or later on in life. It's going to come back and hurt them in some way emotionally. And the lack of love in child development is very detrimental to that person's, emotional health, mental health, and there's varying levels and degrees of psychological hurt in those areas due to the lack of love. But I think it's a very, very apparent that being in any situation in life where you're unloved can really hurt.
Yeah, I agree with you there for sure. Sometimes I can recount times in my life where I think I was alone for like a specifically like long time, or especially long time. And yeah, it is kind of weird, like how you can feel like with the absence of that in your life, like the places that your mind goes that you might not be used to going in a life where you got loving people and friends, family around you.
Yeah. No, I believe that love is very important to one's mental and emotional health. And what were your thoughts to any of that I was saying, Andy? Did that kind of clear the air as to that discrepancy that you were calling me out on?
Well, no, not really. But I actually agree with what you're saying with the need to be loved in whatever way that is. But I'm talking about... Oh, Sophia posted something. Phileo?
Phileo, yes.
Phileo? Oh, okay. I don't know if that... Well, I'm just talking about just normal relationships in, I guess, like man-woman, and I guess in 2020, man-man or woman-woman. Whatever you want to have it, and that's what I meant in being a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, but what was your question to me?
What was my question?
Yeah.
It's that, which is more advantageous of those two options.
Like what kind of lifestyle is more
right? But what about my first response was? Did you find a discrepancy in what I was saying earlier?
Oh, not really. Well, I think on Friday or whenever it was, you were going and saying, and I think when we were having that discussion, it was more of like productivity as an advantage, right? And now it seems to have shifted a little bit to emotions. And that's fine. You could have, I mean, I think there are a lot of ways to analyze that question, but I was wondering more of what you meant about the productivity advantages. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait, sorry, this is kind of where do you guys see the message or the chat box?
oh, so if you're on Zencaster,
Right.
we have, if you scroll down below all of our tracks, there's a little note box
got it. I got it. I see.
right
Okay.
there. Yeah. There you go. Anyway, so this actually has been, I've been feeling like this is leading to something that I wanted to ask to Andy, because you and I were talking yesterday, and I think you had said that you wanted to maybe talk about this a little bit in the podcast. But was it? I think I'm thinking about, was it the time when we were talking about what if you could live a life where you have no like social skills, you invest nothing in socializing with other humans, but you invest everything into like being like the best that you can be at something. Like for you, maybe programming, or maybe I don't know. I was mentioning like Michael Jordan. I don't know if it's true of him, but from what I've heard, he kind of, I think from what I've heard, like he may have invested his whole life into basketball to the point where he didn't really care about like friendships and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that was a discussion we had yesterday. And I thought of, I think Michael Jordan is a better example. I was going to say, Breaking Bad's Walter White. I always think about him.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some other people too. But yeah, those are people who, well, in Walter White's case, he died, I think, knowing or at least feeling that like he was the best at what he did.
Yeah.
So then this is the thing where you have to throw away all your expectations and all of your just past, I don't know, just all the kind of, expectations, I guess, of what you know about fulfillment and socializing and whatnot. But someone who is born, like just think about someone who's born, from the moment they're born, they're just taught. Okay, this is really extreme too, and I don't think, at least today, this would fly. But yeah, the moment they're born, they're just taught, I don't know, like how to play the piano every single hour, every waking hour.
Yeah,
they're taught how to play piano. You think at the end of their life, they'd probably have a pretty fair amount of accomplishment that they can just be proud of?
Yeah, I think they would have accomplishment that is amazing, for sure.
On a level that we can't, I don't even think we can conceive or comprehend.
Yes.
Now, just because that never happens.
I think that would be true. I wonder if they would even be proud of it. But yeah, I think that they would achieve this high level that might be unimaginable.
Okay, so, well, if not them, then people who are not them, as in like they can upload everything they do to Spotify, or someone else would do that for them, so they don't have to lose time practicing.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like at least for others to judge, they would probably be judged to be like one of the best pianists of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be the best at anything, I don't know. I mean, is that not, I don't know how much of a motivation that is to people, but so that's kind of unfortunate with what we know, because I mean, they don't have a life where they get to play games or date, but they can say they're the best at something.
Yeah.
And to me, that's more lasting than having an amazing friendship while you're alive. Okay, well, I don't know if this is always true for me, but yeah, okay, I'll say it's more lasting because I think that's an objective thing, quote unquote objective.
Yeah.
To say that you were the best at something versus you had the best friendship you could have while you were alive.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not very popular of an opinion, and I'm curious. Well, yeah, I'll open up the floor on that one.
Well, yeah. So I just have some thoughts like immediately.
Sure.
Yeah, like what? Okay, I think you're right. Like objectively, it would probably be seen in the history books more, or like recorded history, however history is recorded. Like, you know,
Okay.
In this day and age, it's not just going to be books. It's going to be videos, blogs, all this stuff on the internet. But like, you would have made an impact on the world that would live on for a certain amount of time after you die. That would be probably longer. Yeah. Than like one friendship or something. Well, one place that my mind goes is, I guess I know you and I have talked about this before, but like sometimes I go to existentialism, like when I think about these kind of things, and it's like, if life had no purpose anyway, like, and then like, I feel like we should just like live the life that we're given, and enjoy it. Like, and I guess you could definitely do that by becoming the best at something. Like if that gets you happiness and stuff. But I guess from my like subjective experience, I tend to think that like life is this gift, like from wherever it came, like however I have life, like it is a gift, and that I should actually take advantage of the different experiences that I can have, just like being given this gift. And so it's like, I guess it's like you're robbing yourself of those things. You're totally able to do it, and I think objectively, yes, you'd probably have an impact that's longer, like than like an average life. But I guess in the end, what does it even matter if we're all gonna die? But that's from the existential perspective.
No, so I actually love that thought. Like, I think, Logan, there's a lot of weight to you realizing that, of like, what does it matter being the best at something if one day you're gonna die? Because I think coming from a Christian background and having that perspective, I'm very biased towards the beliefs I'm about to say, because of my worldview. However, I believe that relationships are more important than like accomplishments that we achieve, or like the quote unquote success. I'll say that, you know, our society tends to push us towards, or kind of that idea of like, oh, the American dream and making it in America, and like, you know, being famous, or not necessarily being famous, but growing your net worth, or that kind of idea of success, like the stereotypical idea of success and getting your name written down in the history books or on the internet and whatever. I think that idea is very prevalent in American society, especially, but I think around the world, just the idea of like living life to either like gain more power or become more successful in some way, and that's kind of what society pressures us to do. But because of my worldview, I believe that relationships are more important, because I believe that after we die, our treasures are going to be in the relationships we invested in here on Earth. Whereas, like, if you make $1 million, if you become a millionaire or a billionaire and you die, like, you can't take that money with you once you're dead. So, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
While you're alive, that's great. Like, that's awesome. That's like good for you for like being able to achieve that success. Like, you should be applauded for that, because that's a big deal. Because, especially if you weren't born into a rich family, if you're like coming from poverty and you're able to make a successful life for yourself, like, yeah, of course that deserves to be applauded. That's a huge achievement. But you're only alive for a finite amount of time, and once you're dead, you can't take all that wealth with you. And because I believe in an afterlife, like, I'm more focused on the treasures that I could store in heaven than the treasures that I could store up here on earth. Because I'm not always going to have the treasures that I store up here on earth, because I can't take them with me. But if I focus on my future, and even my future to the point of my future past the point of death, I believe a lot of the treasures that I can store up in heaven are founded on how I love here on earth and how loving I am in my relationships with other people and creating those relationships with other people. And I think in that way, like, investing in money and success gives you, treasures here, but investing in people and relationships, that gives you treasures even beyond death.
Yeah.
And, obviously because of my faith, I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but that's those are beliefs I have based on my own personal worldview. I know that not everyone out there believes that.
Yeah, it's a subjective matter for sure that we're discussing, and it's actually quite interesting to me for sure, as well. I'm kind of thinking about like, I was watching some stuff about like Steve Jobs, and I wonder if that's the kind of guy that Andy's kind of imagining to an extent. Like, he was a guy that really dedicated his whole life to his career, and from what I've heard, like, he wasn't the best family man. Like, he didn't really, like, I guess I heard it said that his first child was like the company, and that was like who he really gave his
attention,
his life force to, and his love and all that. And it's like not a black and white thing to say if his life was better off that way or not, because I guess if you're looking on the scope of all humanity, like, I'm wondering if you're doing that, like, if you're looking on the scope of all humanity over a large scale of time, and just one person such as Steve Jobs, in a sense, he's kind of sacrificing these experiences for like the future and he kind of made, some very substantial impacts.
For sure.
At least like by our standards today. Was it worth it? Like, that's a question that's like really hard to answer. But
Okay, well, I think with
it's
Steve Jobs.
Go ahead, Andy.
You want to? Oh, yeah. I think with Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be picking an example of someone who had made a substantial impact and also didn't know, kind of like his family got caught up in it and he didn't know that he shouldn't involve them or he shouldn't have started a family. And I guess he couldn't have known, but maybe that was him just not practicing better judgment as to, what he should be doing in addition to creating his legacy.
Yeah.
See, I don't think you can generalize that kind of behavior with everybody of his like legacy. Yeah.
May I ask what the original question was?
It's from Andy,
I don't know
right?
if there was so much of a question.
Andy, that's you.
Was it we were talking like the being single, being in a relationship?
You said something about like being successful.
Oh, okay.
Well, I brought it up,
let's see.
but it was something
Yeah.
that he and I were talking about. Yeah.
Got it.
So what was it? It was like, if we were to pose it as a question, then would the question be like, would life be better worth lived if you were to just, let's say you do not invest anything in your social skills and socializing and kind of like normal like aspects of life, and all you do is invest every single like amount of time you possibly can into being the very best at like something. Like
that's right.
Yeah, like
Andy,
programming or being a basketball player or whatever to create some kind of legacy.
Yeah, Andy had brought up like spending your entire life being the best at something. And
Yeah, that was the extreme case.
that like puts your,
So, may I ask?
Yeah, Sophia, let's hear it.
yeah, go for
Sorry.
it. Sophia.
I think, so Adam, I don't want you to answer this because you might know the answer, but I
Right,
want to
for
ask
sure.
Logan and Andy. So, to both of you guys, what are the two things that will last forever?
Whoa.
Oh man.
I went first for like Sophia's first question, so you have to go first this time, Logan.
Oh man.
And then I get to think.
Yeah, I see what you did. You made the sacrifice early on.
Yeah.
Dang. What are the two things which will last forever?
Yes. And then, Adam, if you want to answer it, you can once Logan and Andy go.
Is there any kind of like context to this? Or just okay.
Is there any like
No.
scope to this?
Yeah.
Or is it? I mean, like, what's the? So we could say like, okay.
I'm going to tie it back into what the original
Well, I'm going to
question
scope
of
it to
success.
like Earth and humanity, but I'll still go second.
Okay.
Well, if you
see.
have your answer, Andy, I think it'd help to give Logan time to think too.
What? Really? Okay. I'm still kind of in the process.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Of
I'm just
that.
saying, that's such a huge question, compared to the first question Sophia asked, and because of the nature of that question, I think it should just whoever
Oh.
thinks of an answer first should
Oh,
go.
okay.
There doesn't have to be a.
Give me
order
like
this time.
10 seconds so that I don't regret saying something I should have thought about.
Right, and yeah.
I need to practice. I need to work on that.
No, take
Thinking
your
before I
time.
speak.
Take your time. Yeah, of course.
Man. Even with
Well, while you guys think, I took a communication class, and it was an interpersonal communication class, and through it we had a huge project, actually the same class where I met Perrine and had no idea, where during a job interview, if you don't know what to say, like they taught us, or my professor taught us, to not just say whatever comes to mind, like actually show your interviewer that, like speak it out loud and be like, you know what, can I just have a couple minutes to think about or like seconds to think about my response. And it's actually found to be more admirable if you ask for time to think than just.
I did that in my city interview. I did that.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got it, Adam.
I was going to say, now I know why I got the job I have.
Dang.
Okay, I have one half of my answer for Sophia.
You can go ahead of me if you want.
Hit us with.
Oh, okay, go to Logan.
What's that?
Did you say do you want to go first?
Oh, I'm saying you could go ahead because I haven't.
Oh, go
figured it
ahead.
out.
Okay. I have one. I would say history, like our record of history, is one thing that will live on forever. And I'm just saying for humanity. And this is why, like, my perspective on this is probably going to be, like, whatever. I don't know what the word is, but like within the reality we're living in, as opposed to spiritual or transcendental. Like, what's the opposite of transcendentalism?
I know this. I actually know this. Okay. Hold up. You mean
it's like materialism, or the material world, or something. I don't know. Just saying things now.
No. Hold on.
Okay.
Have you guys seen SpongeBob? That one episode where there's like many SpongeBob, and they're all looking through like file cabinets to like try to find the information.
Or they were trying to remember the formula or something.
Yeah, or something like that. And like everything's burning, and you're like turning computers, and there's chaos. I feel like Adam has many of those moments, though.
Yeah, but he always comes out the other end with an answer. So, like, for him, like for me, I usually give up and just like, I don't know, I can't think of it. But Adam will get it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay, and
sensationalism.
Sensationalism. Okay.
Yeah, and not sensational, like not meaning like, oh, that's sensational, like that's
right.
But like sensationalism philosophy is the idea that all of what we know about reality can only be derived from our five senses, and not anything to do with like beyond the realm of the physical and into the metaphysical.
Oh, okay.
So transcendentalism kind of assumes the concept of like the soul and the spiritual realm, and just that there is a metaphysical realm that transcends our physical realm. But sensationalism says only what you could observe through your senses can you like quantify as acceptable experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then that's exactly what I'm saying that's what I'm scoping my answer to. Right. Which I don't know that's what I'm choosing to scope it to.
Right.
So the first one, history, and our like account of history, what's happened. I don't even know, because sometimes that's not even correct, but that's one of the top. If we were to just like rank them, in my opinion, that's the top. And then the second top, or the second. No, I'm going to switch them. Okay, so that would be the second to the top of the list. And then the first top would be something like accomplishments or achievements, I think those, anything you can experience, like the accomplishments that you can experience after. So I don't know, like the Statue of Liberty or like the Great Wall of China, kind of considering those accomplishments. And then you can go into like software and say like Apple or like that company, that entity and their legacy. That's what I'm considering an accomplishment.
But due to the laws of entropy, won't all those things you just listed eventually fade away, given enough time?
Yeah. And I mean, you can...
And I asked, what are two things that will last forever?
Okay, so you're considering forever in like the infinite sense of forever.
Infinite amount of time.
Then I don't have an answer for that. Okay. It's like not a number.
Well,
Logan?
I'll suggest maybe like, I don't know, God and your soul, something along those lines. That's like where my mind is going.
That's what I was going to say.
Adam? Wait, do you know the answer, Adam?
Those are my answers.
Oh, awesome. I thought you knew. I've heard this quite often, actually, so I thought you might know. But yeah, so the two things that will last. Okay, so let me just start off by saying that I don't think success is a bad thing. I just think it becomes a bad thing when you redirect the what's it called, like attention and fortune and all that stuff to yourself, and you become like a god in a sense. And so I think that's when it can become very harmful. But to answer the question, I think kind of going back to what Adam had said before, the two things that will last forever is God and people. Therefore, why invest so much time, success, effort, money into something that is temporary of this world if on the long run it won't be there in the afterlife? And so that, I guess, like that's also a very biased view due to my faith. But yeah, I think it would be cool to hear your guys' responses, and it actually really was. It was cool to hear about history. I never thought about that, or yeah, just like monuments of, that they are present in our society and they're big things, but in the long run, what was that theory you said, Adam, or that
sensationalist philosophy
like
versus transcendentalist philosophy?
No, just like everything comes to an
entropy.
end.
Right, yeah.
Yes, entropy.
Yeah, entropy is one of the Newtonian classic, one of Newton's laws in classical physics. That everything tends towards disorder.
And I think with this, something that I'm reminded of, Adam, like I'd love if you joined into this part of the conversation, but that talk we had with your mom and JJ in regards to, we know that this earth is not forever because it is, God has told us in the Bible that Jesus will come back and, destroy this earth and bring a new one. And therefore, like, we also know this earth is temporary.
Right. And I think that's where the whole, like, and I'm not like attacking you in any way, Andy. I'm just using your answers as an example. But I
can attack me. I don't care.
I know you don't. I want to specify that
Okay.
not only to you but to like everyone else too. I mean, I feel like in a conversation with big ideas like this, it could get awkward when, like, one, for sure, if you feel attacked, but even if other people think that you feel attacked, that also can make it awkward. And so even if like our future listeners listening to this podcast, like, I am not attacking Andy. So this is me saying that. I guess what I'm saying is that me saying that is not just for Andy. It's just for everyone here as well as everyone listening.
Okay.
This is not an attack to your ideas. I'm using them because I thought I was just pondering what you said. So like history, for example, like our account of history lasting forever was like, yeah, like that's a interesting idea because history, the topic, or history, the concept, like, will always last. Like, that is actually true. But the account of history, I was starting to think about that. Like, yeah, I don't think our account of history will last forever. Just because I think there's so many things that are capable of being lost in records.
Yeah.
And
wasn't it like the Library of Alexandria?
Alexandria, yeah, like so much history was lost there after that library was burned, and so, you know, life happens, and kind of like what Logan was saying, like chaos happens and disorder happens in like what's the right word, in contrast to life, and there's that like constant battle between life and chaos, or life and entropy, and order and chaos. So even then, like, our accounts of history won't last forever. And I was even thinking, like, I was trying to get around the idea of like God and people's souls being the answer. And so I was like, well, like, what else? And I was like, well, what about space and time? Like, regardless of the objects within the realm of space and time, like, those will change and dissolve, and you know, given enough time. But will space and time itself even last forever? And then that's when I started thinking about what Sophia was just explaining about how we believe in the Bible, and how in the end times there will eventually be a time when God burns this earth and destroys this realm and creates a new perfect creation all over again, and allows us to inhabit it as perfect beings. And
Okay.
you know, the Bible never specifies when that's going to happen, but I think it's safe to say Sophia and I both have faith that that day will come eventually. And that's kind of the whole point, is like, what would the purpose of life be if we didn't believe there was going to be something better in the future? Anyway, that's like a whole existential topic within itself. But just the idea of like, yeah, even space and time are going to be destroyed and recreated in some new way, shape, or form. Obviously, I'm not God, so I don't know how that's going to turn out. But like, even it's just crazy. Like, space and time won't even last forever. And you know, once you start thinking big ideas like that, like, if the whole fabric of reality isn't even going to be infinite, like, that thought should definitely make anyone like question like purpose in life, I think. And That's why I believe that God and soul are the answers to that question, or in this case, God and people. I think people and soul can be interchangeable because it's basically the same idea.
Interesting. So, what do you think, Andy, of some of what Adam said?
I wanted to let you address it, but I'll go ahead. Well, first of all, I didn't say history, or I didn't want to say history would last forever. Just want to clear that up. That was what I was trying to say, was like, we sometimes don't even record it correctly or, recite it correctly.
Right.
But if you were to, and now I'm like challenging you to answer the question, but you have to give a sensationalism. Yeah,
or
sensationalistic.
Yeah, it's sensationalistic
Answer. And I don't feel like we should say time and space, because that's, well, I think something we can't even predict or understand.
Right.
At least for me. I don't know about you. But yeah, I mean, what would you say for... I chose that scope, so maybe that was my issue. But with that scope of an answer, what would you pick?
I'll attempt to answer your question since you asked. But I believe like that question cannot be answered without a metaphysical approach. Like, I don't think that question can even be answered when you limit yourself to sensationalistic worldview. But just because you asked and are like, I don't know, flirting with that idea, I'll give some time to think about how I would answer that question, and then let Logan speak.
All right. Dang.
Or you keep pointing at Logan. Okay, say something.
Logan, do you
What's
have
that?
anything to say?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say, Logan?
Oh, okay.
I had nothing on my mind.
That's okay. I thought you had. Sorry, I must have missed something. I thought you had something to say. So that's my bad.
Well,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Logan.
I have.
Sorry, I may have just come into like the
You
reality.
guys see when I raise?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, raise my hand.
Oh,
I thought that was a cool feature of like
I
maybe
saw
every
that
time
earlier, and I was
something
gonna
to
say like,
raise-
hold up, guys. Sophia raised her hand.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then you kind of
I think
spoke
that would be
up. So
cool.
yeah, I was watching that earlier. I was like, oh, she found the hand raise. But the only reason why I like got excited about that was because as like an academic tutor, and when everything went virtual after COVID and we had to move to Zoom, they have the raise your hand feature in Zoom. So whenever I'd be running Zoom sessions with my students, that was an option available to my students, was to raise their hand virtually. So I saw Sophia did that, and I was like, just because I was like trained to look for raised hands, I was like, oh, Sophia's raising her hand. But I didn't want to interrupt you guys. And then she kind of interjected. It just naturally worked together anyway.
Wait. Can you unraise my hand? Is that possible?
No.
Wait, because Alright, I'm gonna click Sophia's hand. And I just unraise.
Yeah, you take it
I
off.
can't
I can't do it to you.
I can't raise anybody else's hand.
I can't unraise your hand, Logan.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, I just did.
I can be like, no,
Maybe
you don't get to
because
talk.
you-
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I
Put
have
your
the
hand
hand.
down.
Well, I do have something to say.
Yeah, go for it.
Kind of. What was the
Oh,
question
yeah.
you had, Andy? You said,
Oh.
tell me two things
Yeah, the
that
two
aren't
things-
sensational, or like that are sensational.
I'm not even trying to get like a
sensationalistic.
real profound answer. Look, I'm just trying to say like,
Are
yeah,
sensational?
just
Yeah.
what two things are going to last the longest?
Forever.
Just say, Well, I don't think you can. And this is why we have to scope the question. I mean, maybe we don't have to, but like you said, Adam, we could go this whole philosophical circle of,
Right. Right.
So, I mean, just say, like, what's going to last longest on Earth?
Well, I think I agree with Adam in that sense of, like, it's not possible to answer that question if you take that aspect out.
How is that? Wait,
with
okay,
that, I think
how is that not a thing that we can't answer? Look, you could just say, like, the Great Wall of China. That's an answer.
But the Great Wall of China will erode.
No. Well,
due to
it
entropy.
will, but I'm saying it could last. Fine. The Statue of Liberty, that's made of metal, right?
It will still erode due to entropy.
I know, but it's gonna outlast the Wall of China. Okay,
Hold on,
Sophia.
Sophia's raising her hand.
Yeah.
okay, so what I was gonna say is, I don't know if this will even answer that question, but I feel led to share this. But in regards to like time and space, I don't believe in time and space because I can see it, but I know it's there. And so the reason I believe in, I guess, one of them being like God, like I can't
Or
see
like
him, but
generally
I know
speaking, a
he's there.
metaphysical realm.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know if I was going anywhere with that.
Well, I still wouldn't count that as sensationalistic. But if it's not a question you can answer, then I think we can just not answer it. And I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the gist of the question.
So you really can't just say Great Wall of China.
Because I don't believe that will last forever.
The longest.
Last the longest?
Yeah, of everything that's going to last on Earth.
Dang. That was created by humans?
I chose that because it's something that it's got longevity, like it's made of stone, so it will last. Because, I'm really just trying to demonstrate an answer. You can say Statue of Liberty, or you can be even more like abstract and say history. That's why I said history. Or you can say humanity if you think that's going to be the thing that, like, just pick something. Disneyland. I don't know. That could last a long time.
Yeah,
I think humanity will last forever, but that kind of goes into the people part of
that.
Of the metaphysical. Answer, right?
But I still get an answer out of that, so I'm fine. And I see Sophia's hand.
Okay. That's not supposed to be up.
Imagine that in real life. Like, I've been holding my hand. I forgot my hands.
Oh, dang, my hand's been up this whole time.
Dang, I didn't even notice. Dang. Well, yeah, to what Andy was saying, it was making me think, like, I guess the matter that comprises Disneyland will last possibly until the heat death of the universe. And that would be into the sensationalistic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
because energy can't be created or destroyed, it just transfers.
Yeah.
So, technically speaking, the matter that comprises Disneyland will at least last until the universe is destroyed.
Yeah. Which is happening from entropy. And that's the sensationalist answer, right?
I would say, that's about as close to sensationalism as you can get. If we're talking about things lasting forever.
Yeah. And humans, same logic. Our carbon atoms will probably be around for a while, even if we get vaporized. Yeah, and the electrons.
You know what's actually crazy?
What?
And this is kind of what I believe is evidence that we're souls inhabiting bodies. Is they've people like physicists have partnered with people in the medical industry and have done studies of taking the mass of people before they die and after they die. And there's studies that show that after you die, you actually have less mass, like less quantifiable mass immediately after death than when before you died. And they did tests to make sure, like, they weren't like defecating before death, or like they weren't like losing any water. Yeah, they weren't losing any like any other like observable thing. But there are studies out there that show like immediately after death, there's less, that body contains less mass than before it died. And these doctors and physicists were like confounded, like they couldn't figure out like where is this mass going, like what is happening, like we don't get, they weren't able to explain why this was happening. And me coming from a Christian background, I thought that study was beautiful, because I think that that's evidence that that mass that's leaving or might possibly be people's souls, and which means it's quantifiable in the physical realm, which is freaking crazy. Like it sounds nuts, but there have been studies that show human bodies losing mass immediately after death. And so I think that, like, you might not have all the answers, but I think that raises a very, very peculiar question.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm curious just to know like how much of like the difference in mass it was.
Yeah.
21 grams.
Did you find that somewhere, Andy?
Yeah.
Whoa, you actually looked it up?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Whoa, 29 grams.
21.
Oh, 21.
How much is that in pounds?
Like 21 grams is like point, I don't know.
Not much, right?
Like a tenth of a pound. Maybe even less than a tenth of a pound. 21 grams is really light. Like,
yeah.
And, that's the thing, too, is like, they weren't losing a ton of mass, but they were losing enough mass to read on a scale, and, like, it was enough mass to not be thrown away to, like, error. Like, they couldn't use mechanical or functional error as an excuse to explain this loss in mass. Like, it was enough mass being lost to be like, yeah, something's actually happening here. It's not like a mistake or something we could attribute to error. Like, there's actually mass being lost, which I thought was crazy. Dang, 21 grams. Where'd you read that, Andy?
Oh, you just Google it.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
What'd you Google?
Human body mass after death.
Different?
I'm actually always curious to see like what people Google to find a
keywords.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, interesting stuff.
Okay, wait. So if you lose mass, that means... Oh, wait. Gravity is less powerful. The force of gravity. I'm trying to think of a way where you can, like, use that fact, you could have this like power plant of people dying, and it somehow like uses gravity or uses like scales, and it just like generates a bunch of power.
Or Death Factory or something.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't like go there to, you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying they have to die there because of the factory, but I don't know. I mean,
Okay, so like someone's about to die, and so they're like, all right, throw him on the counterweight scale or something, and like,
yeah.
and like when he dies, the counterweight drops and like somehow propels some kind of turbine.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool, we got like 1/10 of a watt from him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's literally all it would amount to. It's like, hey, we got 1/10 of a watt.
We've powered your light bulb for like 5 or like 1 second. Or
Yeah.
That's all your life is worth.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I feel like, Andy, if you create that machine, there's going to be a lot of dark things happening. So please don't invent that.
A lot of dark things happening, but a lot of lights turning on.
Someone's got to keep the lights on.
Yeah. What you want power, or do you want not darkness? You only get one.
Yeah, that's the only option.
Wait, power and not darkness is the same thing.
Well, you said a lot of dark things. Probably in the sense of,
I see. You meant
Yeah.
not darkness, like figuratively darkness.
Evil,
not- yeah. That's so funny. Okay, I'm just gonna stop.
I'm not gonna. For the record, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, I don't plan on it, but you never know. I'm just trying to think, like, what can you do with that knowledge of a change in mass that you can't explain? I don't think try to understand it, just try to make use of it. Try to leverage it, capitalize on it. You do some magic tricks.
Yeah.
Would some volunteer like to stand on a scale and I'll change your mass?
Hey, is anyone in the crowd right now? They feel like they're about to die.
Jeez. Oh man.
Because if so, come on up.
Yeah, come on up.
Have I got the trick for you?
It'll be the.
Does anyone out there in the crowd feel like their entire life is worth one magic trick?
Yeah.
No, you say, does anyone in the crowd want to lose weight?
Yeah, that's how you sell them on it.
Yeah.
But there's a catch.
You
We'll
die.
tell you. Yeah, we'll tell you after what the catch is.
Just sign this document and then.
Now you do what they did in the Prestige. You just clone them.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best movies of all time. Shout out to Christopher Nolan. One of the best and most beloved directors of our age, of our era, our filmmaking era. Oh, such a good movie.
I second that. Yeah, I love that movie.
What do they say? First, it's the pledge.
Oh, yeah. There are three...
3 magic tricks.
Wait, there are 3 parts
watching it.
to every magic trick. The first is the pledge.
Michael.
Yeah, it's
Michael
the
Caine.
pledge, the turn, and the prestige.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man, Andy, I forgot about that movie for a second. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you reminded. That's such a good movie. Michael Caine.
Anyway. It's interesting knowledge. 21. They call it the 21 gram something.
There's a name for that. Wow, that's...
Weight of the soul. The experiment is called 21 grams experiment.
I like the name you came up
What?
with.
How to lose weight?
The weight of the soul. No,
Oh,
the
that
weight
was
of the
not
soul.
my name, but that was
Oh,
weight of the soul.
That's
What's it called?
interesting that the weight of the soul is 21 grams, which is 3 times 7. And 3 is the number of completeness, and 7 is the number of perfection. And so
Dude.
I think it's interesting that pertains to the soul. I don't know.
Wait, what was
21
it?
grams.
23 grams? Oh, 21.
7 times
7
3.
times 4? Wow,
You're doing great. You're doing great.
As we can see, not very good at math. No, that was, dude, 28. Come on, Adam. Ooh.
Well, it's not exactly 21. I mean,
I know.
integer.
I just...
It was, I think, 21.3 is what they came up with. But you got the 3 in there.
Hey, there's still a 3.
Yeah. It's a magic number. That actually is a magic number.
It is a magic. 3 is a magic number.
I'm still laughing at myself.
Speaking of magic numbers, Andy, do you know how the golden ratio is derived? This is a complete tangent, but still
No, I don't.
Because whenever I look up the golden ratio, I'm always directed to things that have to do with the Fibonacci sequence. And I just have no idea what the heck does the Fibonacci sequence have to do with the golden ratio. I guess I could just Google that.
What's the Fibonacci?
It is a sequence of numbers where the next number is the sum of the two numbers before it. So you have 0, then 1, and then 1 again, because 0 plus 1 is 1. And then 2, because 1 plus 1 is 2. Then 3, because 1 plus 2 is 3. Then 5, because 2 plus 3 is 5. And then 8, 3 plus 5 is 8. Then 5 plus 8 is 13. Then
So
13
forth.
plus 8 is 21. No, I'm going to do the whole thing.
Alright,
I'm just
do the
kidding.
whole thing. It's
No,
an
then
infinite thing, so
Yeah, it's an infinite thing. So if you do the Fibonacci sequence, you'll be the third thing that lasts forever. If you
but
can
like
successfully-
on a large scale, the same pattern looks like it does on a small scale. So it's like a fractal. It's kind of a sequence which exists in like fractals, right? Like a snail shell. Isn't that like an
Right.
example of the Fibonacci sequence? Like if
yeah,
you look at
it
the spiral,
occurs in nature so often. And Sophia, if you have your computer handy, which I know you do, I definitely encourage you to open up a new tab and Google Fibonacci sequence in nature, because it is amazing, like how many things in nature display the golden ratio or the Fibonacci sequence. I just don't know how to acquire the golden ratio from the Fibonacci sequence.
I don't think you need to do that. What about the just the definition of golden ratio?
Wait, sorry, say that
How
again.
come that wasn't? Well, like, what's wrong with just the definition of the golden ratio? Hello?
Wait, sorry.
Oh man, I can't.
Say that. I was thinking. Say that again, Andy. I'm so sorry. I really apologize.
It's okay. I was just asking what's wrong with the simple definition of the golden ratio.
Well, the golden ratio is a number.
Yeah, but it's a number that you can like derive it. Actually, no, it's a ratio. It's not a constant. It's like a property of numbers, of certain numbers.
What do you mean? I'm asking, how is the golden ratio 1.61803398875, so on and so forth? How is that ratio derived from the Fibonacci sequence?
So
So
Adam.
you're specifically the Fibonacci sequence.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just pulled it up. I put it on the Discord thing, and it's saying that I guess each step you take down that sequence, I think if you divide one, like So let's say you're at 1, 1, 2, 3, right? So 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. And then 5 divided by 3 is 1.6666. 8 divided by 5 is 1.6. 21 divided by 13 is 1.615384. You get 377 divided by 233, 1.618025. So it's like you're getting closer to that every time. That's what they're saying.
Oh, okay. So the golden ratio is the limit to in the Fibonacci sequence when like n equals infinity.
Yeah, I think so.
N divided by n minus 1.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Well, there's this. Yeah, if you look at that link I just sent, there's some like mathematical ways to display this. 1 plus. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was actually wondering that too. Why are they related? But yeah, that makes sense.
I'm looking at the Fibonacci sequence in trees.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's why I believe that creation is designed and not just a random process of evolution over billions of years.
Yeah.
There's evidence to design. If you could associate math to something, you know that design is involved.
Mm-hmm. I like how you put it in a previous time where you're like, when there's like a computer program, it's not like some rocks just fell on a keyboard and created that program.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you don't look at a computer program and be like, that happened by pure luck, by pure chance of the wind and the elements and molecules just happening to fit together in the right way to cause some type of event to rain pebbles on a keyboard that spit out this computer program. Like, no.
Which is Google, yeah.
Yeah. You go up to a computer program and you see it and you're like, there's complexity to this. This was obviously designed by a computer programmer. And so if an engine was designed by an engineer and a piece of architecture was designed by an architect, a program was designed by a computer programmer, then I believe creation was designed by a creator.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know, Adam. A couple times I got up from my computer, and when I got back, there were like rocks on my keyboard. But on my screen, I had like this game that was just automatically.
Is that
weird.
How Run VR happened?
Yeah, that was.
You took credit for natural selection.
Well, no one would have believed me, so I just kind of said that. I just said I made it. That's easier.
Yeah. Wow, Andy, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
So then the Fibonacci sequence in flowers is like the same concept in regards to petals and seeds?
Yep.
Is what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So is it a 3-leaf clover or 4-leaf clover? That's not a flower, right?
Right. They're like similar to leaf petals.
I wasn't going anywhere with that. It's just interesting. You guys sounded so disappointed.
No, I got something I'll add to that, actually. This is actually one that we had on the topic ideas that we never got to.
Oh.
So Yeah, have you heard of something called sacred geometry?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heard of
yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've heard of sacred geometry.
I'll read this here. This is just Wikipedia, but it says sacred geometry ascribes symbolic and sacred meanings to certain geometric shapes and certain geometric proportions. It is associated with the belief that a god is the geometer of the world. And then it explains a little more about that. But
Hey, that's kind of like that's similar to what
it is kind of what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. And you see it with like Fibonacci sequence. I think for me, the harmonic series, that's one that I just keep seeing everywhere.
Dude.
Yeah.
The harmonic series blows my mind, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of spooky too, because you could do, I don't know how much research you've done. Did you study harmonic series in school, Adam?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah. You would have loved
That's
that
cool.
class, Andy. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun class. I think I've heard some theories too, like where mathematicians have analyzed like Mozart's music and Beethoven's music, and we don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but even their like classical arrangements in their pieces exhibit the golden ratio too, and that's why like people have found them so pleasing. So even like the combination of harmonics and the Fibonacci sequence have been expressed, I guess, for lack of a better word,
in Mozart's work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new one for me.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And there's people that will say like, "Oh, he did this on purpose. Like he was a genius, and he knew what he was doing." And then there are others that are like, "He probably it's probably like he wrote music, and then the reason people liked it is because his music happened to kind of go in line with the golden ratio in some way, shape, or form." But those are just speculations. No one really knows. But I think it's more of the concept that the golden ratio is prevalent in more than just
Shapes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I think. I hope I'm not just... I'd hate to just look up sacred geometry, read the definition, and completely misunderstand it. But to me, I'm understanding it's like ratios and series, like the harmonic series, appearing as like patterns in nature. So just like in music, and then in like nature, like actual plants, like Sophia was saying. That was kind of cool.
Yeah,
that was new for me. I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
but just to kind of point in the direction that there might have been a designer, whether it was like a god or if it was nature. Who knows?
Yeah.
Whatever's going on is pretty freaking cool. Yeah.
Oh,
God
yeah.
knows.
Isn't that a song? I was going to say that it's like a Beach Boys song or something.
Oh, maybe.
God only knows. You're a Beach Boys fan, Adam. You got me right.
Dude, I am a Beach Boys fan. It's so funny. This is the second time today in conversation the Beach Boys, titles of songs from the Beach Boys have been brought up, which is really rare.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could tell you about it another time. I'm not going to explain it on here.
Yeah, God Only Knows, song by the Beach Boys.
Yeah, I love the Beach Boys.
They're talking about how he only knows sacred geometry and the reasons for it. Just kidding. I think it's a love song. I don't know.
Who's laughing?
No, that was Adam.
No, I think
No, you got waves on your... Logan's got a little blip on his thing, so that was him.
No,
I don't think a laugh of that
laughing.
volume even registers on this.
Come on, Andy.
Oh, okay.
It was it.
You know.
Yeah. I don't know what you can hear. Can you hear me chewing?
I think you know
Oh,
when
I
like
chewed some shit.
when your two close friends, Logan and Adam, both like simultaneously call you out at the same time.
Oh, okay, all right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was me. Okay. What do you want?
there's
What do you want
not
from
much
me?
you can do about it. I'm sorry, I don't want to call you out, but
Nah, it's okay. I like being called out. Well, I don't like it, but I think I should because it makes me better. It makes me a better person. Hopefully.
It's okay to laugh, though.
yeah.
I think I was laughing internally at the same
yeah.
time. Because it's like, let's see who can pause the longest.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to say anything until...
Dang, okay.
But, well, yeah.
And you know what?
Sometimes-
Sophia saved us. She broke the silence. I don't know if you
Yeah.
noticed.
When the pause is long enough, it's actually easier for me to just see it and edit it out. So I actually I did quite a lot of work for like one instant of Lawrence's episode. To anybody listening, a behind the scenes scoop, there was a time when Lawrence said something and there was just a long pause. And I think it was basically Lawrence talking to me and Andy. It was probably like a 10-second pause. And I go, oh. Or I was like, yeah. And Andy was like, oh. And like I edited it out, but I kept Andy's like, oh, and I moved it forward in my yeah. And so it sounded like it was like Lawrence said statement. And then I'm like, oh, and Andy's like, yeah. And then it goes right to the next thing. And it was so like natural by the time I was done with it. I'm like, nobody will know. But I spent like probably 10 minutes, or I don't know, maybe not 10 minutes, but spent some time getting that thing perfect. But anyway,
funny.
yeah, when there's a long...
we appreciate the work that you do behind the scenes, Logan.
Yeah.
We hope that work pays off. We owe you, that's for sure.
I'm just saying, when there's a long pause, it's like easier to see actually by the eye. Like, okay, I'll just snip that out. And watch next, when I post this, I'll forget to actually cut it out.
Oh my god. Okay.
You know, there's a few things on this topic ideas thread that we haven't addressed at all.
Yeah.
Adam, I wonder if you would be interested in elaborating on any of the... You listed like a few on June 19th.
Oh yeah.
Is that a month ago?
Well,
Yeah, a month ago.
it is also 10:34.
Yeah.
And we've been talking for 3.5 hours. So, if you would like me to, we could open up our next podcast with that list of topic ideas.
Yeah.
If you would like.
That would work for me.
Yeah, I'm happy with the content that we've gone over. Well, I need better words. What's a better word than gone over?
Touched on, I guess.
Covered.
Discussed.
Covered. Yeah,
Those
covered.
are all perfect. Those are great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all the topics we've discussed and conveyed and I don't know, alliterated on? No, that's not the right word. There's a specific word I'm trying to think of. Like expanded upon.
Yeah.
Explored.
Good enough.
Yeah. It'll be like late at night and I'll wake up and be like, that was the word, and fall back to sleep.
Just send me a recording of you saying that word,
And you'll replace it.
and I'll just get rid of the thinking part and be like, you said it the first time.
I mean, everything I've said within the past 20 seconds doesn't have to be in the podcast, so you could just cut all that out anyway. But yeah, I think we covered a lot of good ground today, so I'd be fine with elaborating on my topic ideas list for our next podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing a cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, I'm doing a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, to anybody listening, thank you for joining us around the bonfire tonight. It's been a pleasure to have our guest Sophia on for the first time. Thank you, Sophia, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's nice to hear your perspectives on some of this stuff I hadn't heard before. So that was really cool. Yeah. Yeah, so good night to all of our listeners. Thank you for listening.